The ink has barely dried, signing off on the mid-season brawl, and yet we are right back in the action here.
Starting it off right here at HGC North America. I was obviously in position at the correct time, and everybody—
and not running in 5 seconds till we started.
Everyone was ready for this, which you can tell by the lighting. I, in fact, am a Wade Dreadnought Penfold. With me is JC Gillyweed Gluck, and I apologize for ruining Christmas.
Literally everything.
Right out the gates, just nailing it. We did it.
We're back, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. We are back.
We are.
Right back for Phase 2 of the Heroes Global Championship. We're here to bring you North America. There have just been a couple of changes here and there for North America.
Just a few. You know, a little bit of everything seems like it kind of got mixed up here in North America while we were gone. Roster swaps have gone all over the place. Our standings have now, you know, we have a clean slate for a lot of the teams, a new and bright future. Everybody starts on the same tier. It's just who pulls out ahead. I don't think that has mixed up too far, though. Our teams, the power levels is going to remain near the same as what we saw throughout Phase 1.
You say that, but I think there's going to be a couple of surprises based on the roster swaps. So let's talk about roster swaps and what we might think, what might be possible for upsets in the North American standings as we head toward the next Western Clash. First of all, even in death, they did not make it through the Crucible. However, B-Step lost 3 members, effectively making them no longer be able to compete, to hold and retain their spot in the Heroes Global Championship. So, even in death is now our new team here in the North American region. We now have Team 8. They have been renamed to Roll20 in case you did not watch the mid-season brawl. They released Yoda, who's been picked up by Superstars, and they acquired Goku. I am super stoked about that.
And then it moves on here. We see that Urho was in fact released from No Tomorrow, but Equinox from Gale Force Esports has moved over, and that will be joining that 5-man roster. Talking about Gale Force Esports, though, Crowan and Equinox offline. You talked about B-Step falling apart. Some of the members have a new home there. It's going to be King Caffeine and K1 Pro joining that roster.
That's right. That's Cloud9 3.0. Joining back up with Fan, our King Caffeine and K1 Pro. Little note on Note Tomorrow, by the way, Casanova will be moving over to Tank to let Equinox go back to the melee role. Moving down the list, Kenma has announced his retirement. He will be coaching Naventic, who acquired iDream also out of B-Step. Superstars to replace Faye and Goku now have Airho, with Stray moving over to Ranged Flex, and Yoda back from Roll20. And finally, Team Freedom has released Insomnia, picking up the Hero League try-hard #1 GM for multiple seasons, Cure.
Yeah, the official, it feels like North American sub throughout Phase 1. He came in 3 different points for 2 different teams, I believe. We had Cure subbing at HGC North America, but now he has a home with Team Freedom there at the bottom of the standings. But again, everyone here in Phase 2 is going to be on even footing, at least at the beginning.
So let's talk about who we're most excited to see from those standings, those changes, those roster swaps. Of course, the big name right out of the gates has to be Gale Force Esports.
Yeah.
Picking up King Caffeine and K1 Pro to get back together with Fan, adding Michael Udall and Akaface to that looks like a promising roster.
I completely agree with you, but my only counter-argument to that would be, so has every other iteration of Gale Force Esports to exist over the past year and a half.
Ooh.
So why should I believe any more in this one than the last? That is my big question here for that team looking at Phase 2.
I'm also really excited to see how Superstars does, and we'll get to that at our first match. There were so many changes that hit Superstars specifically that it really is a completely different team. But speaking on the standings, yes, they have been reset, which is a welcome breath of fresh air for a lot of teams. And I'm thinking of No Tomorrow specifically. They showed a lot of improvement throughout Phase 1, especially in Part 2, but it just wasn't quite enough to dig them out of the hole that they had gotten into from Part 1.
Yeah, I kind of view it as it's like a new, I don't know, workout, new year for these teams. You get yourself in a new spot, you've renovated, you've innovated, you've improved upon yourself. It's new phase, it's a new me. Time to go in with the right mentality here for these teams. And being optimistic but also confident within themselves is the best thing that we could expect out of these players. So I'm ready for it, for every single one of them. Because I think even those teams that went and represented North America at the midseason brawl still have a lot to prove here.
That is a really good point. Roll20, again, being able to defeat Tempo Storm at the midseason brawl, it tells a lot. But here we are. You see the standings have been reset. Even in Death currently at the top.
Don't think that's going to last too long.
Probably not. Even in Death Like we said, they are our new team. They were only able to take one game off of No Tomorrow in the Crucible, so they have a lot of room for improvement. We will get to see them compete later on today and see what improvements they've brought in. But yeah, there it is. A reset standings. All 8 teams competing throughout Phase 2 of HGC North America.
But though, because we do have the clear standings, I think for the audience, the players, even us, one thing to keep in mind is that we look at it as though, so early on, it's just kind of feeling the waters, testing out where do you end up landing. But that's not how this works.
No.
Every game is at least every series, extremely impactful to the standings of these teams. And if you do not come out just guns blazing, showing all of your hand, we find yourselves in a position to where you're just like, well, I have no opportunity to represent North America internationally.
Yeah, I feel like there's nobody's story who better exemplified that issue than Superstars. They had so much trouble trying to just overtake one other team throughout the standings in Part 2 because of how Part 1 had went. So every match is oh so important for these teams, especially the head-to-heads when you look at teams that you are closely tied to. Let's check in with today's schedule, see what series you might have missed in HGC Europe. In the first one, I'm talking about a good one, came down to a crazy ending. Tricked Esports with their new player Maka able to defeat Team Expert there 3-2. And then Zealots, one of the new teams for HGC Europe, coming in, defeating Playing Ducks 3-0. Really exciting and maybe not anticipated match showing there. We're going to close things out seeing how our brand new team Even in Death does versus Team Freedom. But we start with a series. There's just no other way to say it than it's spicy. It has some spicy drama involved, and I am so pumped for that.
We got the juicy drama here right out the gates for North America, and I think it is only apt that we started off with the juicy drama. I think it is a nice summary of what we've experienced in North America over the past 6 months here. We've been trying to find where do we belong. I think now after the midseason brawl, we definitely have that locked down. It's now just kind of the teams in North America finding their identity, their strength, their core approach to how they're going to play Heroes of the Storm right now. But I like this one. It's the No Tomorrow Superstars.
Yeah. So No Tomorrow did release Airho and picked up Equinox. They have Casanova moving over to Tank. And Airho went to Superstars. So Superstars and Airho getting to maybe exact a little revenge on No Tomorrow. Let's take a look.
I think our X factor is like we really have a lot of individual skill, and it comes together in our team fights. I feel like they really are usually like a work of art. We came from all these different teams, different backgrounds, and we come together and we really just like slay with heavy teamwork. So our goal is definitely to make it to the Lance top 3. We will not be satisfied with anything less. We just want to make it to the Lance and show that NA is still a good region.
I would say our rivals probably No Tomorrow, since before I joined the team, our team went against them twice in the qualifiers, lost both times. So now with me, I feel like it's a bigger rivalry because now I'm the added player to the team, so I'm there to beat them. I feel like out of all the teams in North America, we have a lot of different strategies. We're not afraid to play what most people consider cheese comps. We enjoy playing those comps, and I think we're really good at them, so you'll be seeing a lot of those. We really want to be a top 3 team. That's our goal, and we're around that, but we have a lot of work to do, and yeah, top 3.
Superstars were nearly top 3, ended up in the top 4 as of the end of Phase 1, but obviously had trouble in the playoffs. Were not able to even, I think, take a game off of Team Freedom. And now they have lost Goku. They have replaced Faye. So they are way different. And in getting Yoda, who competed at the midseason brawl, they really haven't had a whole lot of time together to be able to adjust to not only those roster swaps, but even Srey role swapping to ranged flex.
I feel like just purely off of the performance that we saw at the midseason brawl out of just Yoda is enough to say that this was an upgrade.
Yeah.
Granted, it has to be consistent, right? That was one major tournament where Yoda, especially at a LAN, you can put in the flavor of just being able to outperform yourself based off the adrenaline, the hype, and everybody there. But if that carries over, that I would say that, yes, this is an upgrade. But then now you have to go with, well, does that mesh well with the team, especially when you look at how long that group of players has been together to be able to work together and build kind of that synergy and bond.
It's so funny, too, because we look at this team, Superstars, they have what we are seeing as 2 Warrior players between Srey and Airho. And then on the other side, No Tomorrow didn't have a Warrior player, picking up Equinox, who was playing it for Gale Force Esports, but he's known for his melees. And so they have to move Casanova over to Warriors. It just shows such a what it really is in North America and how difficult it is to find a Warrior player.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up, because a lot of guys at home just got to be sitting there going, like, how does this keep happening, right, in the North American
Equinox's
scene?
Team too.
Yeah, especially when Equinox is involved. Why does the Equinox effect even exist beyond just that one player and that one team? Is based on how many people can actually fulfill that one role, being the Warrior, and then do it on multiple metas, because certain teams and certain players especially thrive depending on the meta. I mean, I think King Caffeine would be a simple example for me of a player who, if you get him in the right meta, he is our best Warrior in the North American scene. Catch him in the wrong one, it can come down to his performance and how he feels that day specifically. And so if we had more of those, it would be a less common thing. But now, like it used to be for supports, teams are constantly grasping as who can fill that role. It's not can they do it the best, it's who can suck the least in that area is what a lot of these team strategies seem to be.
Well, I know you're ready. I know I'm ready. I know you're ready at home. So let's get into our first match, starting with the Battleground pool for the Heroes Global Championship. No Tomorrow banning Sky Temple. Warhead Junction banned by Superstars. No Tomorrow choosing Braxis Holdout for our first Battleground.
Between these two teams specifically, nothing stands out in the world of Braxis Holdout. North America has had a very different approach to the map thanks to Gale Force Esports bringing over what, according to Fan, it was the rotations of Fnatic with the Zagara of China innovated here in North America. So it's exciting to see, you know, if we see the other teams, that kind of trickle-down strategy, if you will, influence the rest of North America, especially coming this close off of the mid-season brawl. Drafts, I expect to be the closest they've ever been to one another. Meta to be the most stale, but in a good way, in my opinion, that it's ever been here for the HGC.
Yeah, that has been my question for coming into North America, is how close to the mid-season brawl meta is the North American meta for our drafts? I looked down at the tablet looking for some stats, looked up at you, and the lights had changed. I had completely forgotten that that was going to happen. But there you go. We are ready for the draft of game number 1 in this best of 5 between No Tomorrow and Superstars. Let's get it going.
It's a bit jarring, you know, the lighting at first glance. It's a whole new ambiance we got going out here. But Genji is going to be removed for Superstars. Uther would be my expect here for No Tomorrow, but they focus on Stitches. So that's a bait, essentially saying Superstars, if you first pick the Uther, we're going to snap the Anubarak here. Because, again, according to the mid-season brawl, a lot of teams said Anubarak and Stitches are Tier 1 Warriors, and they're the only ones. There's only one Tier 1 support right now, which makes me feel like Superstars has to Uther, but you can see at least the Stitches band's making him second guess it.
Just a note that we are still on the same patch as the mid-season brawl. We will be, I believe, switching over to the Malthael patch next week. So one last week on this meta.
Wow.
Nubarak, Murd and Zagara.
That is, wow. All right, so they're just going to let both end up going through when it comes to the support choke, support fear, heavy emphasis onto the macro play. We saw this in North America before. I just didn't think we would see it pre-second ban phase. Again, this is a lot of my assumptions of my analysis of this is just based off of, with the mid-season brawl, having a sample size of games as just a whole lot, just an absurd amount, that we would see a very rinse and repeat drafting, even from, especially actually from the lower end teams of North America.
I will say though that one of the main battlegrounds that you would see the adjustments, the changes come in, was Braxis Holdout, because so many different regions, well, it just wasn't played a lot in general.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And so there wasn't time to adjust to like what are the central picks on this battleground in particular. It was a favorite with Chinese teams especially. So in that case, getting Zagara there, what do Superstars respond with? Do we get Uther here?
No.
TAS Ariel.
Wow. We're going to skip on by. So the TAS Ariel, We saw a lot of the Holy Trinity, like an absurd amount of it. It does complement any two-lane map or any maps where you can gain a lot of value of pressure throughout just front wall alone. But I didn't expect that, again, to kind of blindly be left open. But Superstars, they are able to do that due to the fact that there's been no priority of supporting on the side of No Tomorrow, and you haven't seen them put out a single ban whatsoever towards those. This is not what I expected from the two teams, but I still kind of like it.
I thought we would see a Vala ban from No Tomorrow there, but instead, whether that's something that No Tomorrow wants to pick up, we've seen Jason play Vala before, or even just wanting to ban Lunara. She is another combo partner for Ariel that we even see on this battleground. I mean, even Zul'jin is a possibility on this battleground. So just not wanting to deal with the poisons later on of Lunara. But who do Superstars want to ban?
I mean, with the Zag, the Murden shows emphasis on backdooring rotations. Genji's the only person who can match him. He's already banned. So really, you're now worried about Zag has put focuses onto the macros, so you need something to be able to make sure it can stop any siege of a 4-man, which is like a Chromie, or they decide it's going to be the Morales that they don't want to deal with on the side of No Tomorrow. Now knowing that, and we see signs of the Holy Trinity, at least 2/3, I would like to see an anti-sieging hero on the side of No Tomorrow. Like I said, that kind of Chromie. They go with the Gul'dan to deny a lot of wave clear. They've already banned up the Ariel, but Vala is still very much a thing. I just feel like it wasn't enough resources removed on the side of, you know, No Tomorrow in this draft from Superstars. So where I like what Superstars has, and I don't see a place where they mess up this draft as long as Vala is one of those two picks.
It's so weird to look at Superstars and like think, okay, what is Srey now playing? What is Yoda now playing, right? Just like the adjustment of those names on Superstars is like, oh man,
it's only
gonna give my brain a workout today.
It's only exaggerated by the fact that even with Yoda on Roll20 or what was Team 8, they still had a couple of question marks on certain heroes for a long while until it was like, okay, now we know everything they could play. But because they kind of crossbreeded their hero pools to a certain extent, it was difficult even within that roster. Now on this new one, seeming near impossible, the Chen Vala. Man, Superstars right now, their draft.
Valera. Lots Equinox.
The Valera.
So they've got another hero who can backdoor the same way that Muradin does. We've even seen that from a team that Equinox was on before when he was on Gale Force Esports. Occasionally they would run, they at least once ran Valera with that. What do you think?
I'm really sold on the side of Superstars for this draft specifically. Not only do they have the Holy Trinity in a map where it is going to gain quite a bit of value, it's just that they have a Chen into very little siege, which can be a problem. Again, I shared my thoughts on Chen a lot. Much like Stitches, I definitely think that they are a thing in the meta that we experience right now. When and where, I think a little bit lower than what we've seen across the board, but this is not a circumstance where I go, oh, not Chen. The Valera pick, I feel like, is just a weaker Zeratul in this circumstance, but it makes sense to be able to deal with the Chen and cycling those rotations. But I don't see a world where No Tomorrow just bodies the laning phase so heavily that the just well-rounded composition of Superstars does not thrive eventually.
Yeah, it does seem like Superstars are going to have the 1-4, whereas No Tomorrow have more of the fluid, different style that we see of laning. Let's see how it works out for both of the teams. We're getting into the first game of Phase 2 of North American HGC. See you inside.
And we're kicking it off on Braxis. Tiger JK here in the blue is going to be on Malfury, and Jason is going to be playing Zagara. Casanova is the warrior there again, on to the Murden. Valera will be played by, I don't know, because my graphic broke. There we go. And apparently we do not have the 5th hero after that last one.
I think it was Gul'dan. On the other side, Srey playing Chin. Vala played by Hosty. We've got Yoda playing Tassadar, Iacona playing Ariel, and finally Erho playing Anubarak. This is Superstars. So what I had heard about range flex, maybe not so much. Maybe some changes have come in since I heard that for Superstars, because in this case, Srey will be playing the second warrior, which makes sense when you have 2 warriors to have the 2 warrior players play them.
I was just going to say, it's pretty convenient to role swap or roster swap into a double warrior for now. right?
Exactly.
The meta for now does complement any team that moves into that direction. But I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, out of the 3 years that Heroes of the Storm has formed competitive metas, Double Warrior has been not even viable for over half of it. In the other back half, it wasn't even meta. It was just like a not terrible strategy. So that's why we don't see teams heavily commit to like, oh, we need 2 warriors, because the meta, the video game is constantly changing here. But for now, Superstars feels comfortable into their Double Warrior as they've drafted it.
Yeah, and they have anticipated the 2-3 setup for No Tomorrow in the lanes, sending Tassadar up along with Chen. It will make Hosty a little less stable, less strong, not be able to just be as brazen a Vala as you see with a Vala Ariel Tassadar, but it does help push back the lanes and not let Zagara and Valeera get too much done up in the top. I
really disagree with the laning phase that Superstars has committed right now. To split up Yoda to top makes a lot of sense because of the fear of the pressure Zagara actually distributes onto the map. But Chen was picked extremely late on this draft. You knew the Chen into Zag matchup was very much going to be a thing. And again, Superstars kind of volunteered into that matchup. But removing Yoda disables so much onto bottom. Wow, when I say that, we still have seen them end up getting the pick here on bottom, but it just shows that they could have been that much stronger, that much more influential. The fact that they're committing 2 up in the top, accenting the Chen is essentially going, you're not dying, but you aren't helping anything. You're just slowing the bleeding, and I feel like they would have gained so much more with that being a 4-man throughout bottom. Maybe the early game, while Gul'dan needs to build up, there's going to be another kill, a counter kill for No Tomorrow, but maybe the early game, while Gul'dan is still building up his stacks, they're still building themselves up in a lot of ways, makes it more okay for Superstars to feel like they don't necessarily have to have the Tassadar as long as Hosty still has Iacona there too. We'll see how it works out for them though. It is an interesting change-up. Yeah, it is not one that we see quite often, but North America, again, was also one of the few that has definitely pushed the mentality that if I have an inferior solo, I very much need to make sure that I can make up for it here by rotating another one up there, by babying it. It just all comes down to the trade-off. Do I lose too much here? Do I lose more than I gain elsewhere? Is all it comes down to. It seems like a simple math problem, but it in fact is probably the hardest one you're going to find in competitive Heroes. Between the chin kill and having Casanova on Murden to be able to tank for a long time, holding on to the points, No Tomorrow have done really well in the beacons, but they are not going to lose Jason and Zagara as he wiggles his way back just in the nick of time behind the gate. Shout out to the movement speed on Creep, allowing that one to go down. Superstars has managed to zone off members of No Tomorrow though, and it's getting them a couple of percentage here over the shots for now. But that's going to be denied by... Ooh, Casanova up on top. Saray's going to initiate Urho with the flank. But again, it's just all about rotations here for the teams on Braxis, especially with the composition of No Tomorrow. We know the Murd and Valeera, that is their sole intent. While Zag pressures up on top, and then you have Gul'dan and Malfurion there for the wave clear on bottom. Murden's been rotating back down. No Tomorrow trying to wriggle back control, wrest back control of both of the beacons, but only Equinox and Jason up in the top, and Chin is becoming a bear to deal with for Equinox and Jason here, especially with the shielding of Yoda. Three members, oh man, I'm just surprised that No Tomorrow can't zone off harder here with the laning choice that Superstars has managed to make happen. They are technically winning this phase. It's whenever Superstars ends up getting enough pressure with the tri-lane to actually get a pick is when we see Superstars pull ahead, but in all other cases, No Tomorrow seems to be the one who has pulled up. Well, Casanova has been rotating a lot, so maybe in that instance, they haven't felt like they can just freely get onto the point, but now with Equinox seeking up, Casanova moves forward. Superstars has to guess that this is what's going on, and they will give up the point, but in having 2 versus 1 in the top lane, they'll just trade back that one. So far, no one's been able to close out the beacons at 100%, but it is No Tomorrow who's still slightly ahead. Yeah, it's interesting, too, that you pointed out about maybe the theory craft of like the Gul'dan and the implementation of his scaling versus the map itself and his ability to get the wave clear. Because it does feel like No Tomorrow has fallen behind. Yeah. That this 1-2 split I really didn't like out of Superstars is now just winning through stat numbers alone. And to be honest, I had no idea that this would even happen. There's no large indicator for me that stands out, but for some reason, the tri-lane is now significantly more impactful, and also the duo is too. Well, you have to take into account how the travel time too, right? No Tomorrow spent way more time traveling between the lanes, so even in that short amount of time when someone's moving, if Superstars pick up on it quickly, they can take over a beacon, and that might be a little bit of time where they can charge up just a percentage here and there, and that has
gotten them the bigger Zerg rush as they start pushing down this bottom lane.
Yeah, it's going to be a minimum of a 4-4 Superstars. Still no conversion of Tassadar down here to keep that pressure. So it should be less of an advantage for Superstars here with the Siege, but we'll see how much they can actually manage to make happen. The Gul'dan pressure out should be able to get pretty heavy clear, the initiation. And that's it. I'm surprised. Superstars is just playing very, very patient.
That they are. They'll start to work on the keep towers here in the bottom lane. But with just Guardians left, they instead are going to rotate up. And if they can catch up in time, which they do, they found Jason out, making an unsafe rotation, or what would have seemed to be safe. But with the trifecta of Ariel, Vala, and this time a Nubarak to be able to enable with stuns, they get a kill, and they'll start to work down at the towers in the top.
Should be another fort for Superstars. They can abuse their 10 advantage that they'll be creeping on. Once this turret comes into place, just stall it out. You have such good, consistent skirmishing. This is actually, to this comp specifically, normally I wouldn't suggest sieging up into those circumstances, but because the AoE cross-supporting and the sieging is so effective, you can risk the 9-9 5 versus 5 and not actually risk anything. It's one of those few situations where I'd be like, wait till 10, then push your advantage. But this one I'd be like, push your advantage, get the 10, and then hope they fight you even past that point.
And they went back and got their camp instead of maybe going aggressive and trying to steal their opponent. So now they have a camp to deal with, but they still have 10, a level ahead of No Tomorrow. So they should be able to make something like this work. Iacona, don't you dare.
He's gonna. Is it gonna be it?
Is he gonna do it?
We've seen it before.
Yeah, but never solo support. There you
Right.
go, Crystal Aegis.
Not gonna be the Resurrect coming out. We, at the midseason brawl, we in fact did have one Resurrect game in the Holy Trinity. A different iteration, it was with Uther,
Yeah.
but E-Star was comfortable enough to bust it out. They did make an argument for it.
They did. It was really cool to see because they knew that Crystal Aegis was going to broadcast the position too much, and so they knew that Vala was almost certainly going to go down. So in this case, if Vala just went down, they knew that their opponents would blow a lot of cooldowns on that, and then within 5 seconds, as long as they could 4v5. And they were kind of the 4v5 masters of the mid-season brawl.
They very much
or
were.
3v5 or whatever, just down a member and still fighting.
Yeah, they actually had absolutely no fear. I gained an insane amount of respect for the aggression and approach that that team brought to the tournament. Trees, though, there's the cocoon. This should be a double. Even with the Horrified, Trees is 100% dead. The question is, does the other target die? Tiger JK.
He was nice and knew that he was going to go down, so worked on bringing down the cocoon, and that saved his teammate's life.
Teamwork. That's all about.
That's what it's all about.
That's all.
Do we
all
sing
about.
a song now?
I think so.
Teamwork, doing the thing.
Teamwork, winning the game.
We're back. We are back. All right, Superstars having to deal with some damage that's happening to their top fort, but still maintaining control of the map, which is really important versus that Nidus network.
Oh, nice opening. Perfectly timed Aegis. The stall out there, but the Dream actually gets the pick on Iacona. Tiger JK out of position. He ends up falling 1-for-1 for now, but the Panda Pals move in as they get the secondary kill. Frost Shot's not online yet, but Hosey and friends, they have so much damage, so much cross-supporting that they take this trade 3-1.
3-1, and there are some beacons charging up the whole time they were fighting. There's mercenary pressure in the bottom lane. The world is kind of Superstars' oyster at this point, working on even getting their level 13 for this next push.
Yeah, it's, you know, Superstars. One thing I was hoping to see out of North America, the biggest thing, this is only one game, so we, you know, it's not necessarily true for every team, nor every game we'll experience in Phase 2. But this one is one where I expected Superstars to, they have a very common strategy that we've seen over and over and over again.
Yep.
We can expect certain things to be met when we see that repeated strategy, which again comes down to pressuring of the advantage in certain situations. Superstars is winning, yes, but I do not feel like they're gaining as much out of the downtime as they possibly could. And that's the kind of stuff where I want to see this out of all of North American teams, especially those that were represented at mid-season brawl. To, if you have a lead, just go, like this.
Yes.
Like, that's what I'm talking about. The fact that Iacona has to be the guy to step up there, I want to see every team just be like, we have an advantage, let's push it.
They are going to try to do that. Equinox is in the back line. Was cloaked and gets out, but in this amount of time, No Tomorrow have not been able to secure a kill, and they knew that it was only a matter of time until their keep went down underneath all of the pressure. So Superstars, no, they didn't get a kill when they went, but they did distract long enough to make sure that the Zerg Rush could take out the keep, the first keep of the game.
Yeah, and with the Guardian standing so far back there and at max health, the boss is not going to be triggered. No Tomorrow is going to wait as long as possible to rid of those because Superstars left top so early. That's actually one of kind of the backhanded moments that exists on Braxis is Superstars stays there and they have to get a minimum 2 picks and then effectively all in the game and play perfectly if they're going to win right there. But if they back out, until those are cleared, there's no objective for them to be able to attain safely, right? There is no boss. All the mercs are going to be down. And so it's really just, hey, No Tomorrow, would you like this window to be able to stall out the game? And no, Superstars kind of just has to accept it unless they're willing to risk, again, a game-winning / losing fight, depending on how harsh you push.
Yeah, maybe if the bottom lane had a mercenary camp in there pushing and it was all the way up, they could have rotated down and maybe gotten some towers if they could do so really quickly. But even then, Braxis hold out. It's a pretty big battleground to try to make those rotations fast. So now, it's level 13. 2 level 13 talents.
Is he on an island? What happened to him? Who is the 2,712 Lone Ranger?
What are you talking about?
The health! Just look at him! He's lost 200 HP in an entire minion wave. That is insane. Oh, they're gonna look to force. Oh, they're gonna not look to force. I take it back.
What is...
This is beautiful.
Yeah, but Superstars is like on their way to 16 now. I thought maybe they would try to get a fight before Superstars got to 16 though. I don't know. Equinox. Casanova's there.
I completely agree with you. I just want to say, I thought they would try and force the fight with the 13 too. But Superstars now, they're in a window on the way to 16. The biggest argument to that could be, well, Superstars has now closed the experience gap close enough to where when the next 2 shrines actually spawn, they will be able to stall out long enough to round the 16 curve. That is the only argument I can come up with in my head, Gilly. Is that going to happen? Your face says no, your skepticism's there, so is mine.
The best thing is that those waves are so far pushed that Superstars has been slowed down in getting experience, but they can still set the map up for them to easily get the next Zerg Rush. And Superstars is very close to 16. This is the window to fight.
This is it. He goes in. There's a cocoon. Members, are they going to rotate? Gul'dan's not even moving. They have given up on this life. Nope, he's going to make the rotation now. They want it. Can they get the save? Cleanse is down. Jason skirting on out. Detainment strike there with the stun. The Twilight Dream only hits Chen, but it doesn't matter. Everything for Superstars is falling apart.
Yeah, Iacona is under so much stress from all the members of No Tomorrow, but Equinox has been caught out. Hosty chasing him down. He uses Sinister Strike to dive away, but that will not be enough. Equinox pulls the members of Superstars back, so no one else for No Tomorrow dies, but that is enough for Superstars to get 16.
They have the 16 mark, and they also have the catapult pressure coming out through top eventually. They've got Merc control. They've got a man up. Everything is looking great here for Superstars. What are they going to try and force? It looks like the keep was their answer. About 10 seconds too slow if that was going to be the case. I thought for sure it'd take the boss. Gilly, are they going to risk this?
I don't know.
With 8 seconds left?
It seems like yes. It seems like they're going to risk this. They do not have a new Barak, though. He's making the rotation at the same time as Jason to see if one of them can sneak a beacon. Not feeling confident in the lower death timer. Superstars move back. They can get a mercenary camp. They can get the beacons and look to take out the keep that way. They've already done a lot of damage there.
They have. They've managed to make a lot happen here. The Detainment Strike once more coming out from Iacona.
I'm just saying, if you Detainment Strike someone into a hole in the map, they should just fall off of it and die.
I don't actually think that's how balance in MOBAs works, but I respect your opinion, and we'll look towards it later. The stealth there is going to save Strafe for now. By the way, that works in fog of all kinds. Strafe can't hit out of fog, so if you can ever break line of sight into follow Strafe in, that's a huge heads up. Never cast a spell from the side. Like, it's a small thing we see here, but you can carry it over to your own games, and that is going to allow No Tomorrow to get the retreat. The argument of, could they stall it out long enough, Gilly? We were both proven wrong. That's not, it's getting pretty close. At 60%, they should be able to round the 16 mark, making their Guardian play justified. So now No Tomorrow. This window is here, and they have to make sure they execute because they're already down. Again, one keep onto the map. They have pressure elsewhere. It's going to start with a Horrify. Iacona out of position. He does have the, he has the Aegis.
Equinox. He was right in there and took the damage, but they still get the kill on Ariel. But no Tomorrow losing Jason and Equinox going in for the kill.
But Hostie's managed to keep himself alive thanks to the level 4 on Tassadar. Auto attacks healing all the way. Look at Sray just body blocking through trees. He has no mana. Casanova with the Dwarf Toss. Sray, can he get the flying kick? He gets interrupted halfway.
Casanova with the save. But unfortunately, Equinox is really low. And still, No Tomorrow haven't been able to take any of the beacons. Superstars again charge up the beacons to maximum for a full health Zerg rush in the bottom lane.
That feel when you go even in a team fight and you're just so far below in HP that you can't contest the objective. You have to forfeit it, even though you're like, we deserve this one. We won the fight we needed to, or at least we went even. Sadly, because you failed to win the 16 minutes before, this is now a 100-0 Zerg rush that is going to be marching in through bottom. Superstars, this is another keep. Could it be the game? The question all comes down to how effective is Gul'dan here defensively.
Yeah, Horrify in 10. If they can get the perfect Horrify, and the Horrifys have been really good from Talking Trees this game, they may be able to get the picks that then push Superstars back enough that they can clear out the Zerg rush. Airhose moving forward, uses the Cocoon. It is on Gul'dan, trying to take someone else out.
They hit 2 of the knockups, but nobody's there to get the follow-up. You can see, though Urho and Sray may be on one page, the backline of Superstars has something else in mind. You see Hostie testing the waters, moving up, and now Superstars walks away.
They do not feel confident without their 20 advantage, even though maybe it was just sieging into a Twilight Dream, sieging into a Horrify. The fear was too real for them there.
It was too real, and it's only going to give more moments of opportunity here for No Tomorrow to come back. But by no means is that going to be an easy task. It's essentially leaving open a window, but it's still No Tomorrow's, hand to force. The reveal is going to find 2 members and the stealth that is Equinox.
So without 2 keeps, No Tomorrow know that things are going to be a lot harder for them to fight over beacons. I'm wondering if they're going to force like the boss maybe, so that Superstars has to come and fight them there. They're at least going to try to get some mercenary camps to stop the pressure on their lanes and sending Jason back to deal with that. But in this instance, this is what happens when you get behind in the laning phase with the Zagara Nidus network. It just does not have the same impact as when you're ahead and you can be oppressive.
Yeah, it's actually insane how, oh man,
nice.
Talk about insane, that Horrify. They got the split up there. Chen is now down and the members of Superstars on full retreat. Cocoon and Detainment Strike are still available. Yoda is so isolated that they don't even burn any more resources to try and keep him up. The catapult pressure you see stomping away, but Zag should be able to make clean work of this. Never mind, shielding down.
Going pretty fast.
They're not backing the helper.
Oh, no. 60%.
They're going to start boss now. They should start the boss. Superstars now just wants to keep the members of No Tomorrow not back onto their core.
45?
That's going to be 45. See, if the boss is started in this, I guess only with 3 members, it's too risky to tempt that. Forgot that we saw the staggered deaths of Superstars too early, but hey, just if you could buy time, keep them busy and be like, it's your core or it's the boss. Make a poor choice. No Tomorrow is going to ask that. Equinox, you see waiting in the wakes. It's actually awkward if you ever use the word waiting and your name is actually Wade. I just did it, and anytime you use your real name as a word.
But it's not Wade, it's Wait.
I know, but I accidentally said Wade, and it just felt very, very weird.
Just Wade things. Why don't you just call yourself Waday?
Waday.
All right. This beacon is so important to No Tomorrow, and Superstars knows it, going after Equinox.
Trying to catch him off there. The Chen flying kick, the knock up, the damage is there. They get the pick onto Equinox. Cocoon is going to be laid out and done. There it goes. It's off. Cleanse is used. Look at Jason trying to scurry away, but it is not going to matter. Saray's got those body blocks. 2 members dead. No keeps up. Now Superstars thinks they have it. They are going to look for core.
That was an amazing flank from Airho as soon as the Cocoon went down. Horrify hits a whole lot of members, but it really is just buying a little bit of time for No Tomorrow. They only have Muradin, Malfurion, and Gul'dan left, and that Horrify is now down. Twilight Dream is available. Tiger JK maybe moving into position for that. Does use it, does a lot of damage too, but Superstars with the core already at 45%, starting to take it down.
Yeah, 40 and ticking. There's no way they have the peel. They cannot stop the damage. Superstars in fact, is going to take game number 1 here over No Tomorrow.
It goes back to the Tassadar Ariel Vala draft.
Yeah, you know, they didn't win nearly as hard as I thought they would, according to draft. That being, you know, the whole game was in Superstars' control, but I really did feel like that this game might have been just almost irrecoverable level at like the 17-13, you know, just with how the laning presence I expected to see out of Superstars due to not seeing that backdooring. You need 3 elements when you have the backdooring approach on the side that we saw out of No Tomorrow. They had 2 of the 3. So I thought you give the Holy Trinity to one and you only have 66% of your core strategy. It is just going to crumble. But they put up a very solid fight for at least the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they did. And I think that goes down to their laning setup and forcing Superstars to respond to their laning setup. They tried to be able to do that. No Tomorrow did. But not being able to take out forts once they had Nidus Network really seemed to hurt them. And having heroes that needed to scale up, like Gul'dan.
It is, and I can't even express like how insane that feels, because I try and talk about minions and on certain maps how the map can essentially be almost like, how do I come back under these circumstances? Zagara is a hero, just like Abathur. Abathur's another one. The farther you're ahead and you can open up the map, suddenly what they can do gets that much greater, to the point where Zag just suddenly comes online and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest hero I've ever seen. Like, I can't stop her from just dominating everything. And even when you shouldn't have vision, she just lays creep there too. She gets vision on other parts of the map, and you're like, they see me everywhere. Like, how do I stop this hero? Never let her get there in the first place.
So we've seen one game so far between these two teams. What are you thinking so far of the synergy that you've seen, knowing that both of these teams have undergone some roster swaps? So
far, it definitely feels like Superstars seemed a bit more smooth, but also Game Sense seemed a step up over Superstars. So I don't feel like it's fair. I don't feel comfortable on saying either one came out more impressive. It just was like one's got a little bit of better draft, but they seemed like 5 individuals. It didn't look like too heavy of a team. And, you know, Yoda wasn't put in circumstances to necessarily thrive. You know, Tassadar isn't the flashy hero.
Well, I actually don't know about Superstars who is shot calling, because it used to be Sray. Actually, no, it was Hosty, but now they have Air Host, so I'm not sure who's shot calling in that regard.
Yeah.
Wait, Hosty was just drafting. It was still Sray, right?
Who was heard that there was continuous changes throughout. I know historically, most of the time if Saray's on a team, he in fact was the shot caller, but then recently I think that we saw in part number 2 of Phase 1 that Superstars was kind of all essentially changing how they drafted and how they shot called.
Because we know that No Tomorrow have indeed undergone a change in shot calling, which can... It's going to be an adjustment for players, for sure. So we'll see how it works out for both teams.